PES 2015 uses the power of next-gen consoles to give you less. Oh, but hopefully in a good way, because Konami are going back to their PS2 classic PES 5 roots, moving away from fiddly right stick skills and closer to the intuitive movements of the classic PS2 era with a focus on unique player attributes. Well, I'm Dan Dawkins. I'm joined today by Matthew Pellett, editor of Official PlayStation magazine.
Hi, Dan.
Now, Matt is been to play the game very, very briefly, and it was an early piece of code at the E3 2014 game show. Now, Matt, I'm interested in your views because you've kind of like a lapsed PES fan. Can you tell us about your love affair on and off with PES and what you thought of the new game?
Yeah, I used to play a lot back on PS2, PS3 days. The last one, though, was PES 2008 that I really spent any time with. I spent a lot of time with PES 2008, and then kind of FIFA happened. I switched to FIFA, and I've not really touched PES apart from like a token couple of games when it comes in the office every year. You know, my childhood was ISS, it was PES. But like you say, I had a very quick go at E3. I managed to squeeze in a full game, and I got a cheeky 2-0 victory, which was quite pleasing given that I haven't really spent any time with PES for many years. I was depending almost entirely on FIFA skills, as it were, and I managed to walk away the victor.
So after 6 years in the wilderness, what were your first impressions of PES 2015?
It isn't very scientific, but it felt quite FIFA-ish. I don't know if people will like me saying that or not. It really did. It feels slower but more natural. So the old PES stop-start animations that I used to like and then fell out of love with, they seem to have gone like the ball. The players, they're right now. It's not like 5% too fast or 5% too slow and slightly jarring animations. It all just, you know, blends into one smoothie experience. Yeah. And it felt great. It felt really, really good to play.
And that's played with the analog sticks. Are there any special buttons you were using, or did it just feel like, hey, I've picked up FIFA and I'm going to
be honest, yeah, it just felt like back into the game that I'd always been playing. We were playing on PS4. It was multiplayer, and yeah, there was nothing, no special tips and tricks. In fact, like at half time, I was looking down at the buttons, thinking, you know, surely there's got to be something else, something I'm missing here. But no, it felt really good.
Tell us about the visuals. Like, you know, does it feel like it's make a proper next-gen leap?
I mean, obviously, because we had like FIFA next-gen last year, it's hard to be wowed by new PES, given that it's PES's first next-gen outing. I mean, it looked great. Does it look, you know, remarkably better than old gen? I wouldn't say so at this point. It looked as I would expect. It looked the match of, you know, new gen FIFA last year, I would say.
Okay, well, we'll ask Matt in a minute about some of his goals he scored. I'm going to say first some stuff that Konami want to point out about the new game. Well, their press release focuses on it being a true return to core PES values of total control, super responsive controls, and renowned gameplay. So lots of intangibles to hang your hat off there. The bullet point features are incredible response times. Anyone who played a lot of PES 2014, like I do to my sins, will find there's a lot of sludginess in players reaching for tackles and shooting and just switching on and doing what you want. So hopefully they're going to fix all of that. So there's something called full pitch AI, which again is something they seem to promise every year, but the idea that the AI will be constantly making decisions all over the pitch, making fluid off the ball runs, that's what you expect. Something called closest control. This harks to what we said at the start of the video, where it says each player's bespoke dribbling skills will be brought to the fore, and it's not about relying on trick moves. Later on it talks about the importance of player attributes and like realism. Even in realistic football games, even like, you know, the Philip Nevilles of this world, or whatever the new, you know, workman-like player is, can do rainbow flicks. I think they want to get rid of that and just have truly the players who have got those abilities, i.e. Ronaldo and a few, can do that stuff. And then it says there's something called the case for defence, which is basically saying, again, defence will be responsive and have those things. It talks about the lighting effects. We've seen a bit of that with Fox Engine in the previous year's version. It's going to be full weather effects. Weather is going to have an effect on the way the ball moves and runs, so, you know, slippy balls in the wet, etc, etc. Behavioural patterns. There were 3,000 players individually created in PES 2014. That's going up in the new next-gen versions, and again, expect more unique player things. And, you know, pretty much that is all Konami have said. There's an interview with Kei Masuda on various websites where he talks about how the fact they've completely reworked the controls, which I find spectacular, because when I went to see them a year ago in Japan, they were completely reworking it then, so they've been really busy boys. And he says there's an exciting new mode, again ambiguous, which is going to work on and offline, yet to be revealed. I was interested, Matt, in like the kind of goals you scored and like how you came about doing them.
There were no 50-yard pile drivers. The first one was a corner whipped in, bobbled around in the box, and I stabbed it in from 4 yards out. So nothing special. But even better than that, arguably, was the second one, when the guy I was playing with was distracted by someone entering the booth, and his goalkeeper threw it straight out to me, the lone striker, who ran in and slotted it in the side.
Well, sorry, it looks a bit like PES hasn't found it quite as easy to score with other critics. There's been some impressions on the very good Winning 11 blog. One writer, Asim, has noted that the game was very underwhelming. Now, I think because they're like a very hardcore PES community fan blog, and the community is always angry about PES not being good enough, they're probably downplaying expectations. But he felt like, maybe the visuals weren't the leap he was looking for. He described people describing it as a PES 2014 HD remaster, which sounds a bit harsh. He talked about the unnatural lighting. He said the goalkeepers were still a bit wonky. He says the passing was too predictable. He said that thankfully response times were much better, which people have demanded. And generally, I think it was sort of very cautious level of improvement, maybe not the leap he'd secretly hoped for. One of his colleagues, Nico, had written about the sense straight from the top, saying, "Do not prepare for a revolution. This is a refined experience, but not, a complete remake." And he also talked about the way that, it wasn't blowing you away at first. The more you played, the smoother it got. And after day 3 of the show, he was quite into it. So this really does feel like it's quite a soft launch for PES 2015. It sounds promising that Konami are going back to last gen roots on the next gen. To me, it sounds a little bit like an approach they tried with, and Matt will appreciate this, SSX when it was reborn, where they made the controls less fussy rather than making them more complex.
And for me, it was really nice to sit down and play it and not be turned off by the end of the game, not finish a match and think, well, it's impenetrable, I can't really do anything in this, I'll stick with FIFA another year. I wasn't left thinking that this year. I thought, actually, I can get good at this game, and I haven't felt like that for quite a while.
Okay, well, some promising signs there. It's not all doom and gloom like you might have read. If you like this video, please, and you know what I'm going to say, click the old like button. We super appreciate it. Do subscribe for more on PES as we get it, and it does look like Konami have got a long campaign of hopefully some ever-improving stuff for us. So thanks for tuning in. Until the next time, bye.